Your yard can look flawless on move-in day, then within months, start feeling like you made a $1,000 renovation mistake. After 15 years in landscaping and design, I can spot the exact moment a backyard stops feeling intentional and starts feeling cheap. And it's almost never about the budget, it's the choices. Picture a brand new patio that looks cold and unfinished, a flower bed glowing with artificial red-dyed mulch, solar stakes dotting the landscape like a discount light show, a privacy screen that looks flimsy up close, artificial turf that reads as a green carpet, not a garden. They all looked incredible on paper. They all cost real money, and they all age in ways homeowners never expect. One of these features is being pushed by contractors right now as a premium upgrade. It's the one I see regretted fastest. Let's get started. Number 10. A large plain concrete patio seems practical. You get a smooth surface. It's budget-friendly, functional, and then it just sits there, cold and lifeless, with nothing to soften the edges or anchor it to the rest of your garden. I worked on a property where the owners poured a massive 20 by 24 concrete slab as their main entertaining area. Day one, it looked clean and new. By year two, it felt like an unfinished parking lot. No planting around the edges, no border between patio and yard, no transition, just concrete ending abruptly at turf. The space felt temporary even though they'd spent serious money on it. Here's what happens. Plain concrete has zero visual weight. It doesn't anchor to anything. It doesn't say, this is a curated outdoor room. It says, we poured a surface and called it done. Without a transition or border, the patio feels disconnected from the landscape. You lose the chance to frame it, soften it, or make it feel intentional. Instead, add a border. Natural stone, brick, or composite edging creates definition. Plant around the perimeter, even low plantings, to anchor the patio to the garden. A pergola overhead or structured border changes everything. You're no longer looking at a slab. You're looking at an outdoor room. Expect to spend an extra 15 to 20% on borders and transition planting, and your space suddenly reads as intentional instead of leftover. Number 9. Fresh mulch transforms a garden in an afternoon. It looks clean, it looks new, but bright red-dyed mulch, the kind that glows like it's radioactive, often makes beds look artificial, especially beside natural stone, brick, or soft planting colors. I've walked into yards where owners had invested in beautiful native perennials, quality shrubs, and thoughtful spacing. Then they finished it with that hot red mulch. Instantly, everything felt cheap. The mulch was trying so hard to be colorful that it made the plants look secondary. It's like wearing a neon shirt with an expensive suit. Here's the technical issue. Red-dyed mulch fades unpredictably. Within 2 to 3 years, it goes from vibrant red to washed-out pinkish brown. As it fades unevenly, patches of original wood show through, making the bed look mottled and neglected. The dyes are often synthetic and don't weather like natural wood. You're essentially committing to reapplying color every couple of years. Use natural cedar or hardwood mulch instead. It weathers to a neutral gray-brown that complements any planting scheme. Or go with dark mulch. That's become the default for higher-end landscapes because it recedes visually and lets plants be the stars. Dark mulch costs roughly the same but improves with age. If you want color, use plants for that, not dye. Number 8. Cheap solar stake lights seem like an easy way to add nighttime charm and safety. Pop them along the path, line them up the driveway, scatter them through the beds. It sounds thoughtful. It reads as cluttered. I worked on a renovation where homeowners invested in a beautiful new deck and garden beds. To finish it, they bought 30 solar stake lights and planted them everywhere. The intent was elegant evening lighting. The result was mini golf course. From above or inside looking out, it looked like they were trying way too hard. Here's what happens. Cheap solar stakes are plastic. They're small. They create visual noise when grouped. You need at least 15 to 20 to make any real impact. And when you've got that many scattered around, they stop reading as intentional and start reading as clutter. Most cheap solar lights, under $15 each, barely work. The charge doesn't last. The LEDs are dim by the second summer. Instead, invest in fewer, better lights. A few well-placed uplights on key trees. 1 or 2 quality path lights instead of a dozen cheap ones. Or run low-voltage landscape lighting. That's 12-volt, safe, affordable to run, and infinitely more reliable. A single solar light costs $5 to $15. A low-voltage light costs $30 to $50 but works reliably for 10 years. With lighting, less is more. 5 beautiful, well-placed lights beat 30 cheap ones every single time. Number 7. Decorative plastic screens are sold as a fast privacy upgrade. They promise to hide the neighbor's yard, add texture, and transform your patio in an afternoon. Sounds great. Up close, they look cheap. The problem is material. Most plastic screens are hollow, thin, and designed to look fine from 10 feet away. Get closer, and you see seams, flimsy construction. In sunlight, they look plasticky. In shade, they fade to washed-out gray. Wind catches them, they flex and rattle. They cheapen everything around them, even if you've invested in quality paving. I've seen expensive decks completely undermined by plastic screening. The deck itself was beautiful, the railing was solid. Then somebody added that plastic screen, and suddenly the whole space read as temporary and budget-conscious. Here's what works. Use real materials. A living screen, fast-growing evergreens, or bamboo with proper structure costs more upfront but looks intentional and improves with age. Or invest in quality slatted fencing or a solid wooden screen that's stained to match. A powder-coated metal screen looks modern and lasts 20 years. Or use high-quality outdoor fabric that's UV-resistant and lasts 5 to 8 years. A 6-foot by 8-foot section of quality slatted fence costs $400 to $600. Plastic screening might cost $100 to $150, but you'll replace it in 3 years. Real materials win on cost and aesthetics. Number 6. Artificial grass can work in the right setting. A shaded corner where nothing grows, a rooftop, a pet area with drainage needs. But small patches of fake turf around patios, play areas, or side yards often look exactly like what they are, a green carpet that doesn't belong. I worked on a backyard where owners installed a beautiful stone patio and hardscape. Then they added a small rectangle of artificial turf, thinking it would create a soft play area. From the house, it looked like someone had unrolled carpet and nailed it down. It didn't weather like the rest of the landscape. Guests immediately thought, that's fake. Here's the technical reality. Artificial turf on a small scale reads as obviously synthetic. The color is too uniform. The texture doesn't vary. Real grass has depth and variation. Plus, most homeowners don't realize installation requirements. It needs a proper base, usually 2 to 3 inches of compacted gravel, and visible seams. Small patches often have seams running through the middle. After 2 summers, dust and pollen settle into it, making it look dusty instead of green. You need to brush it with a stiff broom. Most homeowners don't. If you need a soft surface, use real grass. If grass won't grow in that spot, use ground cover like clover, which looks natural and requires less maintenance. Or use mulch or gravel. A patch of artificial turf costs $800 to $1,200 installed. Real grass seed costs $50 to $100. If grass won't grow there, that's useful information. It means that spot needs a different solution. Number 5. A pergola can be beautiful. It can anchor a space. It can provide partial shade and structure. But an oversized pergola, or one too close to the house, can make your yard feel like a showroom display instead of a natural outdoor room. I worked on a renovation where homeowners bought a massive prefab pergola kit. It was 16 feet by 16 feet, open slatted, installed right next to their house. It was the focal point of their entire backyard, but it was too big. It blocked views from inside. It cast a shadow over the entire patio. Because it was a kit with no customization, it looked like something from a garden center, not designed for their specific yard. Here's what happens. A pergola that's too large overwhelms the space. It draws attention that should distribute across the whole garden. A pergola without plantings feels bare and skeletal. Placed too close to the house, it blocks light and views. Those prefab kits, while functional, look generic because they're designed to fit 100 different yards, which means they fit no specific yard perfectly. Instead, size your pergola proportionally. If your patio is 12 by 16 feet, a pergola should be 10 by 14 feet at most. Build it at least 8 to 10 feet from the house so it doesn't block interior views. Then plant around it, climbing vines that mature in 2 to 3 years, or shrubs at the base. A pergola with planting looks intentional. A naked pergola looks like a kit. Consider a custom pergola for your space rather than prefab. It costs more upfront, maybe $2,000 to $3,500 versus $1,200 to $1,800, but it looks like part of your landscape instead of an accessory. Number 4. Brick red edging used to be the default for garden beds, paths, and patios. It was a safe upgrade. Now it reads as dated and harsh. I've walked into yards that are otherwise modern and clean, then boom, brick red borders around every bed. It was a smart choice 15 years ago. Now it looks like 2008 decided to visit. The orange-red tone is bold. It draws attention. It competes with everything instead of receding and letting plants or hardscape shine. Here's the issue. Brick red is a statement color. It demands attention. In contemporary landscapes, borders and edging should be subtle. They define space without drawing the eye. Brick red does the opposite. It's loud. aggressive. When you use it on multiple borders, it fragments the space and makes the landscape feel busy instead of cohesive. Use neutral edging instead. Natural stone in gray or tan tones. Composite or metal edging in dark gray or charcoal. Black or dark gray aluminum if you want something modern. Or go with no edging at all, just a clean cut between bed and lawn. A corten steel border is modern and sophisticated. Charcoal composite edging is subtle and durable. Even simple stone sets in gray tones are more elegant than bright brick red. The cost is often the same or cheaper. You're just making a smarter material choice. Number 3. Raised beds can be beautiful. They organize space, they improve drainage, they're functional and attractive. But cheap boards, uneven corners, and random placement make gardens feel temporary and thrown together instead of intentional and built. I worked on a property where the owner built 5 raised beds from untreated pine lumber. They were different sizes. The corners weren't square. Some boards were warped. They were scattered around the backyard with no clear logic. It looked like someone had randomly dropped wood boxes in the yard. No cohesion, no structure. Here's what matters. Raised beds need a finish. Untreated pine rots in 3 to 5 years. Cheap wood warps and splits. Uneven corners make the project look sloppy. Random placement makes yards feel chaotic instead of organized. A single poorly finished raised bed reads as a mistake. 5 of them read as a system that failed. Build raised beds with proper materials. Cedar or composite board that's built to last. Expect to pay $150 to $300 per 4 by 8 foot bed depending on material and depth. Use proper corner joinery, not just nails. Keep them raised 12 inches minimum for good drainage. Going shallower means fighting drainage issues constantly. Space them thoughtfully. Align them with your hardscape. Create sight lines. Group them in pairs or rows. A single raised bed in the middle looks abandoned. 3 raised beds in a line look intentional. Number 2. Stamped concrete was supposed to be a smart compromise. The durability of concrete with the visual texture of stone or brick. The reality is that stamped concrete often looks too glossy, too repetitive, or obviously fake. I've seen stamped concrete patios installed right next to real stone, and the difference was stark. The stamped concrete had a plastic sheen. The pattern repeated exactly every 18 inches. Nobody lays real stone that uniformly. The grout lines were too perfect. It looked technically impressive, but obviously artificial. Here's what happens. Stamped concrete is made by pressing a pattern into wet concrete. The pattern repeats exactly. Real stone or brick has variation. Slight color shifts, irregular size, natural weathering. Stamped concrete can't replicate that without looking artificial. Plus, it seals with a shiny coating that protects it. But that shiny finish is exactly what makes it look fake. Real stone is matte. The difference is immediate. Worse, when stamped concrete fails, around year 7 to 10, cracks follow the pattern, making failure obvious. The sealer wears off unevenly. You're left with a patio that looks worse than plain concrete because now it's a bad imitation that failed. Just use real stone or poured concrete with a different approach. Real flagstone or bluestone costs more, maybe $12 to $18 per square foot installed versus $8 to $12 for stamped. But it looks intentional, weathers beautifully, and lasts 50 years. If budget's tight, plain polished concrete with good details, a neater, careful finishing, proper slope for drainage looks far more elegant than a fake attempt at stone. Number 1, and here's the one I see regretted most. Large artificial rock waterfalls. They're expensive. They're dramatic. They promise to be the stunning centerpiece of your whole yard. In many normal residential gardens, they look like a mini golf feature instead of a thoughtful renovation. I worked on a property where owners spent $4,000 on a massive artificial rock waterfall, probably 8 feet tall with a pump, lighting, and everything. It was dramatic and impressive, and it looked completely out of place in their half-acre suburban garden. It felt like a resort installation dropped into a residential yard. Guests would see it, and that's all they talked about. Not in a good way. It dominated the space. It felt like a purchase they regretted immediately. Here's what I want you to understand. A waterfall only works if it fits the scale and style of your whole property. A small cottage garden doesn't need a dramatic focal point. A suburban half-acre backyard isn't a resort. Huge, elaborate water features only make sense if the rest of your landscape can support them visually and spatially. Most yards can't. Here's the deeper thing. People buy waterfalls thinking they'll be the main feature. The thing that makes everyone say, "Wow, your garden is amazing." The reality is that the best gardens don't have one dramatic centerpiece. They have balance. They have multiple focal points. They have layered depth. A garden that's just a waterfall plus lawn feels empty everywhere else. The waterfall exhausts the visual interest, and nothing else gets to shine. If you want water in your garden, think smaller and more thoughtfully. A small recirculating fountain, 2 to 3 feet tall, not 8 feet, that's proportional to your space. A still water feature like a pond or reflecting pool that creates visual pause without the noise and maintenance of moving water. Or skip the water and create focal points with plantings, hardscape, and structure. A beautifully planted shrub border, a seating area with a pergola, thoughtful color and layering. The waterfalls that work are the ones that feel like they belong. That means smaller scale, integrated into the landscape, not sitting on top like an accessory. If you're going to invest in a water feature, invest in one that's half the size you're thinking and twice as integrated. If you've got some of these in your yard, don't panic. Pick the one that bugs you most and start there. But none of this matters if you're making the bigger mistakes I cover in this next video on materials that age badly. It's on your screen right now. Click it.